Welcome back to AP News live stream of the Sean Diddy Combs sentencing. 4 years and 2 months. That's what he got, and Mike was there when it all came down. Mike Sisak, our AP reporter in the courthouse with Diddy.
That's right. Our colleague Larry Newmeister is in the courtroom. Was in the courtroom as sentencing was unfolding. I was watching on a monitor from the press room so that I could give you the updates right as it was happening. And yeah, this sentencing was the culmination of a long day in court for Sean Combs and also a long day in court for everyone involved in this case. While we did not hear from the victims, the accusers, Cassie, Jane, and other folks in court today, they did write letters. They did express to the judge their interest in not seeing leniency for Sean Combs. And in the end, Judge Arun Subramanian, he found that while prosecutors were asking for too much, they wanted 11 plus years, that there needed to be a significant sentence to punish Sean Combs for crimes that involve violence, that he said involved coercion, and also for the totality of what he said was 15 years of conduct. The judge acknowledged that, yes, the jury in this case had a split verdict, that the jury convicted Combs of 2 counts of prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted him of the more serious charges, sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, those counts that could have put him in prison for the rest of his life. However, the judge said that he was sitting there in court listening to Cassie testify, listening to Jane testify, and that he had to consider the behavior and the totality of Combs' character as he sentenced him, and concluded that 4 years and 2 months, 50 months in total, was the appropriate sentence. Now, that said, Combs has been in jail since his arrest last year. He's been in jail for more than a year, so that means he could be released in about 3 years when he's 58 or 59 years old.
Right, so he did spend 13 months at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, so that counts towards his sentence of 4 years and 2 months. And then after he's let out of prison, he will be on a 5-year supervised release program. And the judge also asking his attorneys, where does he want to go to prison? And his attorney's saying, I'll have to get back to you on Monday about that. Is that typical where you get a choice of where to go?
Not a specific choice, but judges can make recommendations about where in the country a person could be incarcerated. The ultimate determination is made by the federal prison system, the Federal Bureau of Prisons. But since Combs has his home in the Miami area, the judge could recommend a prison within the state of Florida or within the Southeast. The Bureau of Prisons typically will put people in institutions that are within 500 miles or so of their address to make it easier for family to visit, for friends to visit. That said, sometimes due to the conditions of a particular inmate, the needs that they have, they might not get those accommodations, that proximity to home. But we'll see what the defense asks for on Monday as it relates to where Combs will be serving this time. For the time being, he will be going back to the jail in Brooklyn, the Metropolitan Detention Center, and he will be going to prison for at least the next 3 years, again, because of that time served. He will not be free. His lawyers had asked for 14 months, which essentially would mean he would be immediately released from incarceration or released within a few weeks once his time was completely served. There was an interesting wrinkle in the proceeding today where a prosecutor noted that Sean Combs has already lined up speaking engagements or teaching engagements, 7 of them through the remainder of October in the Miami area to impart wisdom that he says he's learned while incarcerated. Now, prosecutor said that was the epitome of hubris, and his lawyer said that was not their intent. They simply wanted to demonstrate to the court that Sean Combs has things lined up, things to do, and that he wants to take a positive message out of his experience with the justice system. However, given this sentence, he's going to have to cancel those appointments for the time being, but at the MDC, at the jail where he is in New York City, he has been teaching a class to other inmates called Free Game with Diddy, and he may be continuing that now at whatever institution he ends up at.
So to recap, okay, the prosecution wanted him to spend 11 years in prison. the defense, his lawyers, wanted him out basically immediately. They were asking for 14 months, and they had booked speaking engagements for him. But the judge kind of split the difference. I mean, giving him 4 years and 2 months, somewhat of splitting the difference. I mean, the judge had said that, I don't take this lightly. You have to pay for your crimes, basically. I mean, you were convicted by a jury of your peers, and, you were convicted of prostitution-related charges. You're not just going home with your family. You're going to go to prison, and you're going to do, in the judge's words, am I quoting him right? Hard time. You're going to do hard time, but you're going to come out and you'll be a better man for it. And he's 55 now. If he's there for 3 more years, he'll be 58, 59, depending on when his birthday is. So he will miss a lot of birthdays of his children, a lot of special occasions of his children. He's got a 2-year-old. He'll miss a significant amount of her life. But the judge said, you will come out and you will still have a life.
Yeah, and I think there's an interesting, several interesting things about how the judge arrived at this sentence. Judge Arun Subramanian seemed very moved by the testimony of the women who were in court on the witness stand. Cassie, the R&B singer, Cassandra Ventura, the former longtime girlfriend of Sean Combs. And a woman named Jane, who also testified. There was another woman named Mia, who was a personal assistant, who was going to appear in court today and make a statement, but decided not to, in part because she said she felt intimidated by the defense team. He factored all of that in, and he went through a whole litany of things that he considered as he arrived at this sentence. He said he factored in comments that were made in court today by 6 of Sean Combs' 7 children. You mentioned the 2-year-old daughter. She, of course, did not speak. He factored in letters that he received from people in favor of leniency and people opposed to it. And he also factored in how other cases, similar cases, have been sentenced, what other defendants in this similar circumstance have received. However, he noted this is a very unique case with a very unique defendant, and he had to also factor in other things regarding the things he heard in this trial, in this case. Now, he noted that his sentence of 50 months, or 4 years and 2 months, is less than what was recommended by the probation department. In every criminal case in federal court, the probation department prepares a pre-sentence investigation report, and that helps guide the judge on where to arrive at a particular sentence. In this case, the judge said his sentence that he imposed was 10 months less than what probation officials had arrived at, and even less than what the federal sentencing guidelines would suggest for a case like this. Now, prosecutors, again, they wanted much more time. They wanted 11 years and 3 months. They pointed to some of the very same factors that the judge did in him imposing his sentence, including the violence, including the domestic abuse, and including the power and control that Sean Combs had over the women who ultimately came and testified against him. And one final note, as he was concluding the sentencing hearing today, which went on all day in federal court, Judge Arun Subramanian praised Cassie, praised Jane, and praised the other women who came forward to tell their stories. He said that these were horrific stories, but stories of courage, because they came forward to stand up to a very powerful person. And they not only told that story to the 12 jurors in the courtroom, but also, he said, to millions of women around the world who might be suffering in silence in their own cases of domestic abuse.
So after a long day in court, proceedings started at 10 a.m., Sean Diddy Combs learns his sentence at the end of the day. The judge giving him 4 years and 2 months in prison. The judge saying he's sentencing him to hard time. And also the judge, imposing a fine, I believe, a $500,000 fine. And then, Combs has already served, as we said, 13 months in jail in Brooklyn. That'll be taken into account. So that'll be part of the 4 years. So he'll actually be out in 3 years when he's about 58, 59. The judge telling him, you have a life after.
And just one more quick point. This is not the end of the road. This is not the end of the case. Sean Combs can appeal the verdict, can appeal his conviction, and his lawyers have said they will do so. They have 14 days to file a notice of appeal with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals right here in Manhattan.
Thank you for joining us. This is AP News, live stream of the Sean Diddy Combs sentencing. 4 years and 2 months is what the judge handed down. For more, go to our apnews.com website or go to we have an app, an AP News app, and if you like what you're hearing here, if you like getting news from us, we have reporters on the ground in court all over the world. So please consider donating to AP News.